Good evening. Hope everybody's doing all right. Yeah, I really wished I could do the VR thing, Leo. That would be awesome. Um, we were chatting on Ozzy Osbourne. I guess is coming out with a new album, and I guess the album name's going to be Patient Number Nine, but that's also the name of the song that he had released. And I had posted a link to it. Incredible song, and the lyrics. He had actually pointed out to me how deep the lyrics were because I just listened to it once and I didn't, I was just listening as I was doing other things, and I liked the song, but I didn't have the chance to sit down with the song, and just take it in. And it is an incredible song, absolutely incredible song. But oddly enough, when you pull up the lyrics for it, there is a verse in there that is not in the song. It's not sang in the song. And I'm going to be real honest. I don't think Ozzy would sing that verse. Because it basically questioned the existence of God. And that's one thing you may or may not know. But that's one thing that Ozzy will not do. He absolutely will not do. He's a man of faith. And I know a lot of people might think otherwise just because of his whole whole thing, but no, he's got very strong faith. Anyway, I have to make a clarification and probably a bit of an apology from something that I said completely out of line on last night's show. And that was when I was talking about Ghislaine Maxwell and R. Kelly and what I thought was a appropriate punishment for their crimes. And I had said something to the effect of tying them to the back of a pickup truck on a country road and taking them for a walk. And after some thought, I thought, that isn't nearly appropriate at all. And since the number 3 is my favorite number, I figured I would just clarify what I meant. So not are they just tied to the back of a truck on a country road, but their whole goal, because I believe everybody should have a chance, right? Everybody should have a chance. So 3 miles an hour for 30 miles. Okay? So that should be the punishment. Tied to the back of a pickup truck on a country road, 3 miles an hour for 30 miles. Now we might be getting somewhere along the lines of justice for all of those children. So I just wanted to clarify my thoughts on that. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same level as far as how I feel about people that do stuff like that. I've got a dark side to me, and it is what it is. Anywho, let me think if there was anything else throughout the day, just a typical day. I can't think anything really that stands out in particular, other than just sharing out news as usual. I got grass taken care of today, but that was really about it. So everything else is it's underway. I've got the small grow tent going, and like I said, grass was done today. So I got some other projects I want to get started on. I almost just to kind of give you guys an idea, and I'm gonna do it probably one of these days here real quick. I'm gonna drain that EcoFlow Delta down to about 50% or so, and I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna take those 4 rigid panels out, and I'm gonna show you guys what 4 rigid panels will do with one of those EcoFlow Deltas. And then of course I can't make a comparison with the other types of panels because I don't own them. So, but at least I can give you an idea on that. So I do plan on doing that. Still setting, I'm sure, at 98% from the other night. It only took 2% of it, and I didn't top it back off. It's that's close enough, 98%. You probably don't really want to store batteries like that at 100% charge. To be really honest, you probably want to be somewhere between 40 and 60% charge if you're going to store it. So, but that presents a problem if you need it in an emergency, because you know. Anyway, I'm going to be doing that here soon. I need to get the drones out and get their props wet. I hope I don't do that literally, but yeah, I haven't flown them, and they need to get out and get in the air and get exercised, and I need to cycle the batteries and stuff. So that's something I probably need to do here pretty quick. In fact, I meant to check on updates, because I think there was some firmware updates for both of them actually. So maybe tomorrow, if I remember, I'll get that checked, and I don't know if I'll get a chance to fly them tomorrow. Trying to think if there's anything else. Nothing that I can think of. Just like I say, been watching the news and watching things unfold. Everything's pretty much still on the same track. I can't think of anything, to be real honest, getting any better. What was it? There was something in court today. There was two things, and one of them that I wanted to mention. One of them, I think, was the Title 42 thing. That was something that we didn't do so well on. And there was another thing that the Supreme Court... Hang on. Well, I'll look up... Oh, I looked up to see if it was in the chat. Hang on. I'm thinking about it. Oh, the EPA. It was something to do with the EPA and the coal plants. And so what it is, I guess, is basically the EPA isn't going to be allowed to just shut down the coal power plants, right? Which is kind of important, considering there's this, little bitty energy shortage problem going on. And so while that's great news and all, I need to remind folks that there are some other things that are involved with operating those coal-fired power plants, and that means the coal. Not only does it have to be mined, which requires permits and all this other nonsense, but it also has to be transported. So if said coal isn't even getting mined, or if it's getting mined and not transported, you're still in the same situation as before. Why do I say this? Why do I even bring this up? Why do you just want to throw a problem on it, Watchman? And well, that's not really what I'm doing, but I guarantee you the Biden administration wants to. And if his little EPA minions can't do the job, well, he'll just find another way. Just look at what they're doing with this, with the Roe versus Wade thing. I mean, they are looking for every single way around and loophole that they can. I mean, it's getting insane. Now it's to the point where they're just saying, "Oh, we're just more or less going to ignore it. To hell with them." So, I mean, this is crazy. I never thought in my lifetime that I would ever see this much lawlessness in the presidential administration. Not even remotely. The stuff with Clinton and Monica Lewinsky and stuff like that don't even hold a candle to what's going on in our White House. I mean, it's insanity. And the information, the leaks just keep coming and coming. I'm don't want to give any visuals, especially involving Hunter. But anyway, it's nonsense. It's insane. And what can we do? I mean, I know what we ought to do, but that ain't gonna happen. We're in for a hell of a ride. And maybe it may not be as bad, There's a lot of people that get put in a lot of really, really bad positions. And oftentimes when they're asked, how did you get through that? How did you make it through that? And oftentimes the answer is something to the effect is, well, I didn't have a choice. I was there. I had to keep moving forward. I had to keep doing something, They were just living life. They were just pushing forward. So, I think there's going to be a lot of a need for that pushing forward coming. And I think it's going to get rough. I don't think that you would openly see this much level of lawlessness right in the presidential administration itself. There is no United States of America right now. There really isn't. Not as it was founded. I hope we can resurrect it. But until we do something about this blatant lawlessness, it's just going to continue to get worse. And even if we could zero out right now the lawlessness, even if we could run the administration and their henchmen and women and zemen and whatever the hell's, even if we could run them off right now, is there a chance at saving it? Even if you put in place right now the perfect people for the job, I don't even know if it could be saved. We're in deep. Have you looked at the debt clock lately? I haven't. I don't need to. I know what it was years ago when I looked at it. Before COVID, I know what it was. I don't need to look at it now. I know. And I just don't see any way possible, no matter what. I mean, come on. Let's really be serious. Let's think about what GDP, let's even talk about best case scenario GDP. Pre-COVID, best case scenario, Trump president GDP. And you're still talking probably decades upon decades upon decades. So do I think we're going to fix the problem? Nope. But I think they're going to have a swell new plan to offer us. I guarantee that. Anyway, I'm just rambling. I don't have anything in particular to talk about. Nothing really comes to mind. Have me a sip of coffee. What? What? I missed something. Oh. Quit. Be nice. That's the first chick that I've ever seen over there. So be nice. Don't run her off. Help a brother out. Alright. Anyway. I'm a mess. I'm a damn mess. Anyway, let me get on to news, because otherwise I'll just carry on with nonsense. It's my Friday here, so, oh man. I get amused way too easily. Alright, U.S. hypersonic missile test fails, says Bloomberg. I mean, I don't know why the Pentagon wouldn't have said it first. I don't know what... No, I'm kidding. An American hypersonic missile test flight ended in a failure in Hawaii on Wednesday, Bloomberg has reported, citing the Pentagon. The U.S. Department of Defense offered few details of what happened, stating only that an anomaly occurred following ignition of the test asset. You don't say. Thanks for that information, Captain Obvious. While the department was unable to collect data on the entirety of the planned flight profile, the information gathered from this event will provide vital insights, Pentagon spokesman Navy Lieutenant Commander Tim Gorman, now I can't even speak, was quoted as saying by the news agency. The botched test was part of the conventional prompt strike program, under which Lockheed Martin is trying to develop weapons capable of flying at speeds of Mach 5 and above for the use of submarines and surface ships. It suffered another setback in October 2021 when a booster rocket failed to deliver its hypersonic glide vehicle during a test at the Pacific Spaceport Complex in Kodiak, Alaska. The booster was not part of the weapons system, defense officials stressed at the time. Despite the failure of both tests, the Pentagon said it remains confident that it's on track to field offensive hypersonic capabilities in the early 2020s. The U.S. has been struggling to keep up with China and Russia, and in the development of, and I'll get to that, hypersonic weapons, there have been a number of successful tests under various American programs, but the country is yet to have a modern system in service. So, Russia has not only successfully tested hypersonic weapons, they've actually successfully used them on the battlefield in Ukraine. China had performed a test of a hypersonic glide vehicle that we're still trying to wrap our minds around. We still don't know how that particular craft did what that particular craft did. And even North Korea has successfully tested hypersonic missiles. And the U.S. just can't get it up. It's crazy. That is just mind-blowingly crazy to me. Anyway, Russia warns of new Iron Curtain. And believe me, I know North Korea had help. China probably provided them with it. But, it is what it is. Isn't the saying, all's fair in love and war? Well, you can't go pissing off other countries and then tell them that they can't give each other weapons. I mean, you could tell them that, but you can't expect them to listen. Let's see. It says a new Iron Curtain is going up across Europe, this time put up by Western powers seeking to cut off Russia and Belarus over the conflict in Ukraine. Practically overnight, the EU destroyed all of the relations with Moscow it had been building for decades, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Thursday in Minsk. The Iron Curtain is now being erected by Westerners themselves, said Vladimir Mackay, the Foreign Minister of Belarus. He clarified he was referring not just to the severance of the political and economic contact, but to the physical barrier that just went up along the Poland-Belarus border. What? Yeah, that's that strap. Let's see. McKay said the isolationism. I'll get it. Isolationism. I had to sound it out. Give me a break. I had to go back to like 3rd grade for a moment. I'm back. It's all good. Jen's dying over here. As
I was getting ready to say something.
She said she was getting ready to say sound it out. Oh, man.
Oh my gosh, I just had a flashback.
Anyway, let's see. As Belarus continues to advocate for dialogue with the West and finding diplomatic solutions to problems, it is practically already up, Lavrov agreed, adding that Western countries are only doing it carefully, so it's not to pinch anything off, but the process is underway. I'm quitting this article right there. We're talking about pinching stuff off. Next. Ah. Oh, something's wrong with me. Alright. U.S. intelligence sets out possible scenarios for Ukraine. Hostilities in Ukraine will most likely continue for the foreseeable future unless Ukrainian forces collapse and Russia achieves its goals, as U.S. intelligence assessment said on Wednesday. A peaceful resolution is currently impossible, American officials believe. The gloomy prediction was made by Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines during a discussion in Washington hosted by the tech giant Google. In her first public remarks on Ukraine since May, she said U.S. intelligence had considered 3 possible scenarios for the conflict in Ukraine. The most likely one is a grinding war in which Russia makes incremental gains with no breakthrough. Another scenario involves Russia succeeding in crushing one of Ukraine's most capable and well-equipped forces in the east, leading to a slump in the Ukrainian resistance. The third possibility involves Ukraine managing to stabilize the front line and possibly achieving minor gains in the Kherson region, which is currently dominated by Russian forces. We also, to be clear, don't see right now an opportunity for both sides to come to a peaceful agreement, she said. Haines said her agency continues to believe that Russian President Vladimir Putin wants to capture most of Ukraine, but added that the country's forces have been degraded by 4 months of fighting in Ukraine. We perceive a disconnect between Putin's near-term military objectives in this area and his military capacity, a kind of mismatch between his ambitions and what the military is able to accomplish, she said. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky reportedly told G7 leaders earlier this week that he wanted to wrap up hostilities with Russia before the end of the year. He called on Western powers to ramp up supplies of weapons to his country, according to European government sources familiar with his private video link address. So yeah, it must be nice just to be able to say, hey, I certainly could use a couple of F-15s. Actually, I'd rather have 22s. But, you know. Can I get an F-22 with leather interior? Tuck and roll or something? I don't know. Make it cool, man. And I want spinners. It's gotta have spinners on the wheels. U.S. approves of new design for heavy weaponry. All right, well, we're getting right there. They can work on my F-22 with spinners. That I can just see it right now. Taxiing down the taxiway. Spinners going backwards. Hydraulics on the gear. Yeah, I've lost it. I've completely lost it. That's what I probably ought to do after the show is go flying for a little bit. Oh, man. Let's see. U.S. approves new design for heavy weaponry. The U.S. Army has approved a new design for a light tank and contracted up to 96 of them to be produced by General Dynamics Land Systems, making the first time the Pentagon is acquiring such vehicles since the Cold War. The Michigan-based defense producer was awarded a $1.14 billion contract to produce a batch of armored fire support vehicles, the Army announced on Tuesday. Days earlier, the GDLS Griffin II tank was declared the winner of the Mobile Protected Firepower program, an attempt to create a new vehicle of a class that the U.S. military launched in 2015. The previous competition was canceled in 1996. MPF represents a new capability for the Army, allowing our light maneuver forces to overmatch adversaries, said Major General Ross Kaufman, director of the Next Generation Combat Vehicles Cross-Functional Team. The Pentagon praised the MPF as a benchmark program. The GDLS Gripen II design was one of two selected in December 2018. The firm's rival, British defense giant BAE Systems, was reportedly disqualified after failing to keep up with the schedule to deliver prototypes for testing. A total of 24 Gripen II prototypes took part in the trials. The MPF was described by the U.S. military as the spiritual successor to the Vietnam War era M551 Sheridan, a vehicle that was retired in 1997, according to Automotive News website The Drive. The new GDLS product is armed with a 105mm XM35 gun, originally designed for the scrap 1990s program, mounted in a turret derived from a variant of the GDLS M1 Abrams main battle tank. Unlike the Sheridan, it's not airdropped but can be airlifted, with two vehicles transported by a single C-17A Globemaster III cargo aircraft. That's pretty cool. Well, I kind of have an idea of how this new warfare is going to play out. Much like, and I could be wrong, but let me throw this out on the table. Much like our industry has changed and become much more automated, I believe you're going to see our military also become more automated. I believe what you're going to see is troops being able to take this light armor vehicle, very, very fast moving in comparison to a lot of the other armor, and be able to just run quick and have drones completely autonomous covering them. And I think that is what you're going to see on the battlefield. And I think that this vehicle will have the ability to, more or less, its system's going to have the ability to speak to the drone systems and be able to avoid fire, what have you. I believe there's going to be a lot of AI involved in the new warfare. And I think they're only showing you just a tiny, tiny, tiny sliver. They're just showing you the hardware. They're not really explaining anything about its systems. And I can guarantee you one thing. The modern weapon systems are insane what they can do. Even what you can get for hunting is unbelievable. My brother showed me his crossbow. He's got a lot nicer crossbow than I got. And he's got this real fancy, and I want to say it was like several $1,000s if I'm not mistaken. Just crazy expensive scope on it. And I can remember him telling me that the scope, more or less, it adjusts for the range. So it will adjust the reticle for the range that you're aiming at for when you try to shoot the deer or what have you. To me, that is just absolutely mind-blowing that it's doing that. And I know that's nothing compared to what the military's been toying with. But, still, it says a lot. And I do think that combat is going to be much different. I think we're going to see a much different battlefield than what we've ever seen. I don't think it's going to be even remotely the same as what we're used to. I think there's going to be so much more automation, and I hope less loss of life. I'd like to see no loss of life. It'd be great if we just had robot wars with these other countries. I would like to see no loss of life. But to know that we're moving this direction and that there will be less loss of life, at least I think so, Well, that's better than nothing, I guess. But this stuff is kind of wild to keep an eye on. I keep a closer eye on a lot of this stuff than I'll talk about. And it's really interesting, the systems they have. And a lot of it has to do with the targeting systems and the AI. I mean, it's just amazing what they can do. Let's see. Now, I don't know. I have no clue on how far along other nations are, like Russia or China. I have no idea how far they are along as far as like that type of technology in, say, armor, for instance. I don't know if they're still. I know they're up to par with us on planes. So I know they're right with us on planes. So we don't. I have a hard time saying that we have air superiority over them, because we simply do not. We don't have a single aircraft in our fleet that you can dance in the sky. Not one. Close, but not quite. The F-22 you can get close, but not quite. But you take something like the, the Su-57, maybe? Hang on. No. Then what would it be? It would have been the predecessor to the 57. Would it be the 35? It was the one with the canards, whichever one that was. See, that don't have a canard there, but yet the it showed it here. Okay, Su-27M. So I bet that's what it is. Sorry, I'm an aircraft geek. No, I don't see a canard on that either. Huh. I don't know. I'm not going to keep looking. I know it's a Russian aircraft, though, that they still have in combat, and it has canards, and it can dance circles around anything that we have right now. Just what it is. I mean, they typically don't fly like that anymore, so it's not, I don't know that it's something that's really necessary, to be honest. With fighter jets, it's all about the electronics now. It's all about, the evasion type of electronics. It's about the targeting systems. It's about, it's all about the electronics these days. So, in fact, they've got the plane set up to where, as long as you've got the system, you're not overriding the system, the plane won't even let you tear it apart. The plane will not do what it cannot do. In other words, you could be flying along at Mach 1 and yank that stick back as hard as you can, and that plane's only going to do not only what the plane can handle doing, but also what you can handle doing, so that way you don't black out pulling such high G's. So it's kind of cool. And I don't know if that's all part of what they call the fly-by-wire system. I think it is. But it's kind of cool stuff. And I enjoy it, even in the flight simulator. It's kind of cool. I like taking the F-18. The version I have has it, and has fly-by-wire enacted in it. And it's awesome. It's awesomeness. Because like I say, you can just go and yank as hard as you can on that stick, and you're not going to pull too many G's, not for yourself or the aircraft. It won't let you do it. The thing I don't like about it is if you're getting around stall speeds and stuff like that, if you're stalling, your elevator and stuff don't want to respond, because there's not enough, you're not producing enough lift for your elevator to do any good, so the computer won't tell it to move. And so sometimes you're trying to regain control from a stall, and you better have enough altitude, because you're going to have to tip your nose down in order to gain that speed, while you just let go of the stick and let the computer system more or less zero itself out, and then you can take back over the aircraft. I know you guys wanted to know all that, but anyway, I just like planes. Anyway, let's see. France records highest inflation rate for decades. Consumer prices in France have been growing at their highest rate in over 3 decades, Reuters reported on Thursday, citing data from state statistics agency INSEE. According to the report, EU harmonized preliminary inflation in the country increased by 0.8% in June from the month prior, driving annual inflation to 6.5%, its highest level since 1991. The figures mark the second month in a row in which inflation has reached record highs since France began using the EU's calculation methods in the early 1990s. Meanwhile, the country's national consumer price index was somewhat lower, but still up at 5.8% year-on-year from 5.2% in May. INSEE specified that inflation is mostly being driven by increasing energy prices, up 33.1% year-on-year and 5.3% month-on-month, and food prices up 5.7% year-on-year and 1.4% month-on-month. However, prices in other spheres have somewhat stabilized, the agency says, with services inflation remaining at 3.2% since May, while manufactured goods inflation is down compared to last month, standing at 2.6% against 3% in May. The statistics agency still expects inflation to continue to rise in the third quarter of the current year, however, before gradually declining in the fourth quarter and into 2023. So, not doing good. And there were other headlines. I can't even speak. There were other headlines I didn't share that had other countries facing the same woes. I mean, this is much of the world. A lot of the world's going through this at once. That's what I'm saying. I have to question who's involved in what role when it comes to the upper echelon. And I know better than to trust any of them. Let's see. I thought this was nuts. I'm sure you're all cheering Joe on today when Biden makes gasoline prices endurance vow. And this is what he says about us. The U.S. will bear high gasoline prices for as long as needed, President Joe Biden said on Thursday during a news conference at the NATO summit in Madrid. The beginning of We Are Change's video today is priceless. It is it's priceless. It's Biden sitting down with a couple of people, and just you got to go watch it. We Are Change, the beginning of today's video. Anyway, when asked how long American motorists should expect to deal with high fuel prices, Biden told reporters as long as it takes so Russia cannot in fact defeat Ukraine and move beyond Ukraine. He stressed that this is a critical position for the world. U.S. gasoline prices, a key driver of the highest inflation seen in the country in 40 years, hit a record $5 a gallon this month. The prices have been on the rise since the start of the year, reflecting significant consumer demand outstripping the supply of oil, as well as ongoing turmoil in the energy markets. Biden had earlier reassured the public that the U.S. government was doing everything it can to reduce this pain at the pump. The White House has repeatedly blamed Russian President Vladimir Putin for causing inflation in the U.S., with Biden describing it as Putin's price hike. However, the U.S. Federal Reserve has recently rejected the assertion that soaring inflation in the country was mostly being driven by the crisis in Ukraine, pointing out that prices had been rising well before that. Yep. This is the Biden price hike. not the Putin price hike. Biden pledges long-term support for Ukraine. I mean, why not? It's just our money. U.S. President Joe Biden has declared that Washington will stick with Ukraine as long as it takes. Well, good. You take your ass and all your friends' asses on over there, and you do that. And we'll appoint somebody worthy of being in our high offices, and see ya. Anyway, Biden also argued that Russian President Vladimir Putin was getting exactly what he did not want, suggesting Moscow had wanted the Finlandization of NATO, okay, but he got the NATOization of Finland, along with Sweden. Finland applied in the aftermath of the military offensive to join NATO, and both countries' applications were officially accepted earlier this week. The U.S. has thrown enormous amounts of money in the Ukrainian war effort, providing $54 billion in economic and military aid, with approximately $12 billion of that in weapons. However, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has declared that is not enough, calling for an additional $5 billion per month in financial support from NATO. He referred to the sum as a fundamental thing needed for defense and protection. I mean, this dude should be offered a job with the mafia at this point, don't you think? I mean, come on. That's pretty good. And to do it out in public like this, you know, even Vinny wouldn't have done it in public like this, right? It's crazy. Crazy. Israel's AI-powered radar sees through walls. Don't this make you feel better? I'm sure this is going to make you just sleep so much better tonight. An Israeli tech company has introduced a new portable radar system that can detect living beings through solid walls and uses AI to differentiate between people and animals. Hey, I got news for you there. People are animals. I know. It's shocking. I know. But I'm sorry I'm the one that had to tell you. People are animals. Mammals, to be exact. Mammals. Anyway, the makers of Xavier 1000 call it essential and a game changer for anything from search and rescue to special forces engaging in suburban combat. The new device boasts an AI-based tracking of live target patterns, according to its makers, Camaro Tech. The Israeli military contractor based in Kfar Netter near Netanyana says Xavier 1000 provides an unprecedented resolution of body parts and position, sitting, standing, lying down, and the height of live objects, and can distinguish between adults, children, and animals. Amir Biri, CEO and founder of Camaro, described the device as a true game changer for special forces and law enforcement teams conducting urban and rural operations that require reliable information regarding hidden live targets. Which is exactly what this is for. This is not for rescue, search and rescue. This is going to be used by government and military to basically know exactly where everybody is in the home before breaching through that door, so that they make sure that they can take you out before you get a chance to squeeze anything off on them. And that's just the reality of it. I mean, I'm just telling you the reality of it. The Xavier determines the most suitable approach to ensure successful life-saving missions in a variety of operational scenarios, such as hostage rescue situations, Beery told Israel Defense. And I don't buy that for 1 minute, because the new policy is you just kill the hostage. That's the new policy. If you go and watch, that's what they do now. They kill the hostage. Then they don't care. They don't care. The most astonishing case was that UPS truck. That blows my mind. How they just indiscriminately, knowing that they were going to hit an innocent hostage. And it didn't matter to them. As long as they took out the guy they wanted. Nobody else's life mattered a bit. And it happens time and time and time again. No, I'm not good with them getting this kind of equipment. No. I would be if we had laws, things in place to make them accountable, but we don't. And people want to fight putting things in place. So what do you do? What do you do? If you've got two choices, let an armed gang of people run roughshod over a populace. It's mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing. Anyway. Nuts. Let me have a sip of coffee, couple of vapes, read through headlines. That's a rabbit hole I don't want to get going down. I just... Alright, all of these are from today. Now, let me have a couple of vapes. I know I always say that and then I never do. Alright. EU chief can't find Pfizer CEO texts. Well, I wonder why not. More than 100 murders at Kurdish-run camp in Syria, says the UN. U.S. is looking to procure adapted COVID vaccines, says Pfizer. That would be ones that are adapted for Omicron. British pledge more military aid for Ukraine. Hey, by the way, ever since Omicron, and then remember, I mean, in all fairness, they did push this second variant of Omicron kind of hard. What was that, B.2 or B.2 or whatever? And ever since then, though, it's just like off the radar, and it hasn't mutated again. It just haven't. But man, do we got monkeypox? We got, oh gosh, meningococcal or whatever disease, you know. But it's okay. You know, they're getting it the same way. So just, you know, don't do certain things with certain groups of people. And you shouldn't need to worry about those two. And there's something else, too. And I know there's one or two headlines, too, talking about bacterial or antibiotic resistant bacteria or something. I don't know. I'll get to it. British pledge more military aid for Ukraine. Germany seizes Russian LNG tankers, says media. A blockade of Russia's Kaliningrad could be lifted soon, says Reuters. I'm thinking they don't want to get bombed. Gazprom stock plunges on key shareholder decision. A grain-laden vessel leaves Ukrainian port, says an official. Skepticism grows over Russian oil price cap. Putin authorized massive POW swap, says Russia. Russia makes move to alleviate food crisis. Parliament votes to dissolve itself amid major crisis. That would be the Israeli parliament. France record... Oh, I covered that one. Chinese energy giant considers offloading Western assets, says media. Here's the one. Study sounds alarm over antibiotic-resistant bacteria. China and Russia want to create alternative to G7, says media. A G7 summit showed club's impotence, says Politico. A gas supplier looking to cash in on EU energy crunch, says media. European gas prices highest since March. Sanctions can be perceived as casus belli, says Medvedev, and I'm sure I probably pronounced that wrong. Medvedev comments on West's threat of tribunal. West will target Russian oil exports, says Biden. West violated key NATO-Russia treaty, says Lavrov. A recession in the U.S. and EU more than likely not, says an analyst. Well, I personally think that we're already in one. And I think what we need to be watching for is going into a depression. Go to hell, though, Ukrainian ambassador tells German intellectuals. I wasn't telling you. But I did have to play it out. That was kind of fun. Biden says Americans will endure high gasoline prices as long as it takes. And I read that article. I don't know why I read the headline. Putin should not fear defensive NATO, says the U.S. Ukraine severs diplomatic ties with Middle East state. Sweden and Finland must fulfill their promises to get into NATO, says Ankara. Biden urges dropping Senate filibuster over abortion. A lunar crater from mysterious rocket impact found. Kiev's actions in Donbass amount to crimes against humanity, says Putin. Anti-oil activists glue themselves to Van Gogh painting. Now you're gonna Van Gogh to jail. Russia warns of new... Oh, cover that. First black female Scottish justice is sworn in. Had to get it all. Otherwise I'll be cancelled. Oh, wait. That already happened. Anyway, that's it. Those are the headlines. That is what's going on. I think tomorrow's probably going to be a big news day. I'm kind of feeling it. So just kind of keep your eyes open. But I'm going to hop on out of here and chillax. I might fly. I don't know. I might just go to bed. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to get off of here, though. And God willing, I shall see you all on Sunday. So hope to see you then. Thanks for coming tonight. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.